Okay, if Connor Shaw and Bruce Ellington aren't phenomenal, South Carolina doesn't win the Capital One Bowl over Wisconsin. I mean that if Connor Shaw had played a good game, a very successful game, and Bruce Ellington the same thing, Wisconsin wins. Those two had to be exceptional, especially Connor Shaw, and he was clearly the difference. The difference in quarterback play was huge in this game as South Carolina took out Wisconsin 34-24 in a very, very competitive, hard-fought, competitive bowl game. And we wonder about incentive, motivation, hustle, and drive and desire in bowl games. But when we get to New Year's Day, and especially when it's the SEC versus the Big Ten, and even though this is not a BCS game, this is the best of the rest by far, the Capital One Bowl, we get the best from the SEC and we get the best from the Big Ten. And again, it was a hard-fought, competitive game. 34-24. Badgers led it 14-13 at the break. Let's run down our thoughts and need to hear from you on this one because this was a really good one as it spins us toward 2014 also. So let's start with Connor Shaw. 22 of 25, 312 yards passing, 3 touchdown passes, 5 total touchdowns. He ran for 1. He caught 1. Connor Shaw could not have played any better. It's basically impossible for him to have played any better. Plus, he made some brilliant throws. And when he didn't make brilliant throws, he was bailed out by Bruce Ellington. So Connor Shaw completes his career at South Carolina in grand style, goes 11-2 again for a third consecutive year. He's won 27 of 32 games as the starting quarterback at South Carolina, the all-time winningest quarterback in Columbia, the all-time touchdown leader, yardage leader, and just about everything else important in quarterbacking play in Gamecock history. And again, wins another bowl game for the SEC over the Big Ten. Did the same thing over Michigan last year with some help from Dylan Thompson, 33-28 in a great bowl game. And then 2 years ago in a comeback in the fourth quarter against Nebraska, winning 30-13. So Connor Shaw made exceptional plays. He had a great throw to Shaq Rowland down the right sideline that was perfectly thrown, probably the throw of the game. And he also had some not so good throws. A couple of the ones that he missed, again, Bruce Ellington. Let's run it down because Bruce Ellington made some exceptional plays in this football game in catching 6 passes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. With just 6 minutes left in the second quarter, he made a brilliant catch down the right sideline where he came back to the football, laid out, caught it on his back shoulder when it wasn't intended to be thrown there. It was a poor pass by Connor Shaw, one of his few bad passes, but Ellington made up for it, set up a touchdown there. Then off an interception down the left sideline. Again, another brilliant play. Wisconsin had a 4-point lead at the time. There was 6 minutes left in the, I believe 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Wisconsin had a lead. This was actually in the second half. There was one exceptional play down the right sideline, one down the left. On this particular play, Wisconsin needing a stop on 4th and 6 could have had the 1-score lead and the ball in the third quarter. But on 4th and 6, Connor Shaw just hung it up there for Bruce Ellington, who had to completely adjust to the football, tipped it and caught it going out of bounds. And it saved the drive, and South Carolina scored. And that was the go-ahead score of the game and really the pivotal play in a game of game-changing type plays. Bruce Ellington made that play to take it in for the South Carolina Gamecocks to make it 20-17, and Wisconsin never caught up from there. So in going through our notes, the Wisconsin running game, especially in the first half, was devastating. South Carolina, despite the NFL-type players they have with Chaz Sutton and Quincy Corrals, and of course, Jadeveon Clowney, could not stop the Wisconsin running game. The Badgers ran it down their throats for 293 yards, especially with Gordon and White, the two prolific backs, the best tandem statistically in the history of college football. They broke a record in this game as a tandem with rushing yardage in 2013. But in this game, 37 carries as a duo for 250 yards. They ran it for close to 8 yards a carry against the South Carolina defense, again, that is considered one of the top front sevens in college football, especially on that front four, and Gordon and White chewed them up. Okay, a couple plays that Wisconsin probably would like to have back. A couple plays by their players, especially their quarterbacks, Phillips, and Stavi, but also some coaching decisions on third and short and in that 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 range that I didn't think were too effective. They certainly weren't effective. They weren't real bright calls. Going with the Wildcat. They went with the Wildcat, and they've done that over the past several seasons with Gordon and with White. It's been successful. But at the same time, the South Carolina defense stopped it time and time again. So to go with it on a 1st and 10 or a 2nd and short would have been one thing. But on critical 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 5s, Wisconsin 3 different times went with the Wildcat and got stuffed. It's obvious who's going to carry the ball, and when you've got the size and the talent advantage up front against Indiana, against Purdue, hey, go for it. But against South Carolina, yeah, you're still a muscle team. You still bring it straight ahead. You still say, here's what we do, try to stop it. Yeah, that's still the bread and butter for Wisconsin, but you've got to have some type of strategy, some type of decoy, something else to keep the defense honest when you're talking about a South Carolina type defense. So that I question. Joel Stavi nailed late in the 3rd quarter by Victor Hampton, one of the top cornerbacks of the SEC. Stavi gave you what Joel Stavi typically does. He's a workmanlike quarterback. He will not win the game for you. You hope that he doesn't lose the game for you, but he's thrown 13 interceptions this season. It was pointed out that he's got 15 touchdowns and no picks in the red zone, but he's thrown a lot of interceptions otherwise. So when Wisconsin's going in for the score, Stavi has not made that critical mistake, but he throws a lot of picks on his own end of the field. He did it again. This not necessarily his fault. He was rushed. He was flushed from the pocket, tried to throw the ball away. It kicked off a Wisconsin offensive lineman up in the air for the pick by Sky Moore. That set up the touchdown down the left sideline by Ellington and the great catch that he made. And that was unfortunate for Wisconsin because Shaw and company converted right away with a touchdown play there to Bruce Ellington. Chris Borland forced a fumble, his 15th forced fumble in his career. Chris Borland plays till the clock strikes 0. He's just a tough, heady player, the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten. Forced a fumble, which gave Wisconsin some life, still down 10 with 4:40 left to play. Then Kurt Phillips threw the interception when he had Pedersen in the back of the end zone clean. He should have thrown it over the linebacker and to the open space in the end zone, but he threw it directly at Pedersen, and it was picked off in the end zone. That stopped one Wisconsin drive in the last 5 minutes, and then they still had a shot to score a touchdown, possibly get the onside kick at 34-31. But they went with a hook and ladder with Jared Abbrederis catching the outlet from Kurt Phillips. The hook and ladder once again to Melvin Gordon, who's not fumbled the football in his entire career, but did not catch the ball cleanly on a bit of a suspect delivery from Abbrederis on the hook and ladder. Wisconsin, that was the last chance at the 20-yard line. Again, Wisconsin a couple times in the red zone in the last 5 minutes, even when it looked like all hope was lost. They still had a shot, but they turned it over twice. Quarterbacking play was huge in this one. Shaw delivered. Stavi did what Stavi typically does. 10 for 15, 84 yards. Interception, couple touchdown passes, played relatively well. Kurt Phillips coming in late in the 3rd quarter. Kurt Phillips has had a checkered career with the Wisconsin Badgers, and we really take this time to honor the student athlete, Kurt Phillips, because no, he's not going to the NFL. He did not win this bowl game. He didn't light it up. He didn't set records at Wisconsin. He will be largely forgotten over the landscape of college football unless you are a diehard Big Ten fan or specifically a Wisconsin Badger fan. But Kurt Phillips came out of Tennessee as a high school recruit, as one of the top 10 quarterbacks recruited in the nation. Went to Wisconsin, suffered 2 major knee injuries, was largely forgotten, got his chance in a 6th, actually at the time a 5th season with Wisconsin last season in 2012 in place of O'Brien and Stavi and the different quarterbacks they tried at Wisconsin. Kurt Phillips got his shot, led the team to a Rose Bowl. They almost won the game against Stanford. That was certainly the highlight of his career, winning the Big Ten championship game over Nebraska. He wasn't counted upon to do nothing but manage the game, but he did it effectively through less than 10 passes in the Big Ten championship game. But a good story here, Kurt Phillips gaining a 6th year, and he did come into the game, but it was not a storybook ending for Kurt Phillips as he threw that interception in the end zone and was not able to lead a comeback win for Wisconsin. But credit him. He got the team to a Rose Bowl last year. 2 devastating knee injuries that he fought back to get back onto the field, and despite not playing for all that time, saw action last season and again won a Big Ten championship and got some playing time due to the injury to Joel Stape here against South Carolina. Jadeveon Clowney, like to note what he did in this game. The stats weren't huge. He didn't have 3 sacks or 4 sacks like he did last season against Michigan or like he did against Clemson a year ago. But what Jadeveon Clowney does is affect the game plan. He affects the style of play. He affects the quarterback. He affects everybody on the field offensively that's got the football in its hands. And he affects the offensive coordinator's mindset in game planning. I thought Brian Griese did an exceptional job. And I rarely am impressed with the analysis out of the studio or out of the game booth by a lot of the analysts. But Brian Griese did an exceptional job talking about Jadeveon Clowney's supposed off season and the attention that he drew, and he really gave a football nuts and bolts analysis of Clowney's talent, what he does in game planning and changing the game, making an impact on each and every game and the opponent's approach to taking on the South Carolina defense. All right, anything else from this game? Because we definitely want to hear from you, Wisconsin and South Carolina fans, not just on this game, but as it plays into 2014. Connor Shaw off to the NFL, possibly. He's a marginal prospect. And there were certainly 8 prospects listed on the ESPN bottom line from Wisconsin that have a shot to play on Sunday. So again, it's South Carolina, it's Wisconsin. It was another great matchup between the SEC and the Big Ten, and the SEC wins it again. The conference is 13-9 against the Big Ten since these 2 leagues signed an agreement to play back in 1994 in the Capital One Bowl, and it has routinely been one of the better bowl games of the season. Now, would love to hear from you on South Carolina and Wisconsin right here on Mark Rogers TV.